For this video, I'm going to walk you through how to do the Joseph coat technique. Okay, right, let's get started. Okay, for the card, you are going to need a card base that is 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. Okay, I've done this in a pretty peacock. For the white mat around it, it's a piece of Whisper white cut at 5 1/4 by 4. Went blank. Okay. And then the top part that's going to have our pattern on it, that piece is 5 by 3 3/4. Okay. And to start with that one, okay, we're just going to cover the background in colors. I chose 3. I chose Calypso Coral, Blueberry Bushel, and Pineapple Punch. Okay. And we just start. And you just put the colors on wherever. It doesn't need to have any kind of pattern. Yeah, it doesn't have to look perfect because we're going to be covering up a lot of it anyways. Okay, so that's my Pineapple Punch. Now I'll add some Blueberry Bushel. Just going to wipe this brush off. Now you can use a dauber. I know I'm using the brush. You can use daubers. That's fine. You can go over top of the colors. There is no wrong way of doing this. So don't be afraid to experiment and try. You thought, oh, I haven't tried daubing before. I don't know if it's going to make a mess. It doesn't matter. As you will see, we are going to cover it. Okay, and now I'm going to use my Calypso Coral. And again, no pattern. You just want to have pops of color everywhere. And it doesn't matter if some are lighter than others, some are darker. It doesn't matter, because we're only going to see parts of it popping through, and it will give it a really good effect if there are light and dark tones to the colors. Okay, well, I think I want a little bit more of the Pineapple Punch. I'm just going to bring it over top here, just so there's a little bit more peeking through of the yellow. I want to make sure it's going to show in different spots. Okay, so see, I put the yellow over top. The blue gives a little bit of a green, so it doesn't matter, right? So you pick whatever colors you want. All right, so when you're happy with the range of colors, and that's all you're looking for, the range of colors, you need to let it dry. Okay, so we're going to let that sit for a few hours. And we're going to make sure that it's completely dry before we go on to our next step. Okay, when you're sure that your paper is dry, you're going to do some stamping. So I chose the Whale Done stamp set, and I picked the jellyfish. And I have it on my stamping block. Okay, and you want to stamp with Versamark. When you're done stamping, you are then going to apply clear embossing powder. Okay, that's what you want to apply to it. Okay, so we're just going to stamp Now you can get fussy if you want and have it all planned out where you want it to go, or you can be like me and just stamp it wherever. That was good. Okay. All right. And don't be afraid to have some of the stamp coming off the paper. Right? When you're catching pictures of nature, it's never exact. Everything isn't in the perfect position. Okay. So it looks a little more natural if you do have them knock off the page. And I have them going in different directions because they're not all going to swim the exact same way. Okay, so I'm just moving it in the light to see where my stamps are. I think I'm happy with that. It's a little difficult. It's very difficult to see because this is clear and you got all the colors on there. Okay, so I'm going to put my embossing powder on here. Try and get that down so you can see. Let me do it this way. Okay. Now I have this orange piece of paper underneath just to catch the excess powder. That way it's not wasted. Anything that doesn't stick to the page I can put back in the bottle and use it again. Okay. So I'm going to set that aside. See, and I just do this with the, that's why it's so well folded. And then it all just goes right back into the bottle. Then nothing is wasted. Okay, so now we want to heat it with the heat gun. I'm just going to, I hope that's not on an actual jellyfish. I'm going to use the tweezers because it will get hot. I can let it sit there and the tweezers should hold it in place. Now when you're using a heat gun on something like this, you want to make sure you turn it on and let it heat up before you hit the paper. So if you hit the paper and you're not seeing the chemical change, because you will actually see the embossed part change right away under the heat. If you don't see that, take the heat gun off the paper and then reapply it because it's just not quite hot enough yet. So give it a minute to heat up. I'm not going to talk while it's on because you won't be able to hear me. Okay, so I think I got all of them. Just gonna, it's hard to tell when you have all the colors and everything you're putting on is clear. So you just have to move it in the light and get a good look. Okay, that I think is going to look pretty good. Oh, no, that looks good. Okay. All right, I don't know if you could see that change. So I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not. So they do change. You will see it change, and I don't know if you could see when I was heating it, if you could see it change, you could get that sheen. So then you know that the chemical reaction has occurred. Once you see that, you've noticed I then moved my heat gun on to another one. Don't leave the heat gun on in the one spot too long, okay? You don't want to do that. It will again change the chemical composition, and so you just want to keep it that nice sheen. Okay, the next step, it's going to get a little messy. So I chose Pretty Peacock for my background color. A lot of people use black when they're doing this technique because what you want is a color dark enough that's going to cover all these colors in the background. Okay. And because we're doing the ocean, I wanted to choose something that's like a bluish green, and I thought the Pretty Peacock would be a good base for that. So what you do is you take and you open it up and you're just going to apply it. Okay, you just want to put it everywhere. Okay. And don't panic if you think it's covering up what you've embossed. Okay, that's okay. It will come off. You just have to wipe it off with a cloth or a napkin. Okay. So do that. And I think it's covered up pretty good. Hard to tell. Ah, okay. All right, I'm going to get my cloth and wipe that off. Okay, and when you're wiping it off, you're just doing what you had embossed. Don't try and wipe the whole card or anything like that. You just want to get it off the embossing. It will not stay on the embossing. That's why we emboss it. So you can see that it's coming off a lot clearer. And then you get to see all those colors that you stamped. And that's what gives it that neat effect. Now I know some people like to leave it, so if you know, oh, I kind of messed up. So if you know, you can tell the difference between the jellyfish that I've cleaned off and those that I haven't. Some people leave it on there because they like that effect, just a little bit of color through it. I want to show off those colors that I put on the bottom. So I clean it off. But you can do what you want. If you want to leave that on there, that's fine. It does add a different effect. Okay. Oh my. And like I said, it does get messy. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Now before we do anything else, we need to let this dry. Okay, so make sure you let it dry before you do anything, or you're going to end up covered in the ink that's in the background. Okay, once this is all dry, you just want to attach everything together. Okay. So if you decide to do one like this, please let me know. I would love to see what yours look like, what you used, what background color. I'd love to get some ideas. Okay, so there it is. So there's the ocean. Okay. Thanks for watching.